So you have things on your timeline and you want to do a little more processing. You have extra sound, you have some background, you have something in here that needs a little extra clean. There's a number of things we can do. One, if we had a still file, we can throw it over to Photoshop and edit it, and then as we save the changes, they're applied in Premiere. One of the more common things I do, though, is work with Audition. Remember, we did Audition at the first of the semester. So here we've got a bit of VO laid down. I want to make sure that, that just looks kind of quiet, right? It's playing too low. As I look at my bars over here, it's too low. Might have some background noise to it. I'm going to clean that up with a simple right click, edit click, edit clip in Adobe Audition. I'm going to select that, and essentially what's going to happen is this is going to open in Audition. I can make changes, I can apply things to it, I save it, and the changes are done here. Remember, we're not working destructively to any files here. Everything is kind of a processed look at how something works. All the same, we want to make sure our files are backed up in their raw state somewhere else. Audition is one of those things we can mess up a file if we're not careful, though hopefully here that's not going to be a problem. So, notice Audition's opening, pops it up. Here's my sound. Okay, yes. So we're not going to change this here. One of the things I've done, and I think we talked about this early on, we have favorites, right? So with favorites, you can start recording and then go through and run a couple of effects. One of my favorites, couple of my favorites put together are one under amplitude and compression is the speech volume leveler. That's to say, sometimes we talk very, at a normal pace. Sometimes we get quiet on a thing as we talk. Sometimes we're going to get really emphatic and loud. And even though it won't change that tone and you still get all that emphasis through, the volume leveler just kind of takes the small parts and makes them bigger and the big parts and smaller. It makes it more consistent across the board, which as a videographer and editor is very nice to have consistent audio. So we have that piece, and then I have a thing I like to do, which is just to set what that upper level is. So I don't have to go through and adjust my volume up and down to make sure it hits at the right level where I want it to be. Instead, I'm going to let this do it for me. I'm going to set a peak at usually about a -3 decibels. Why -3 is a long technical conversation. Some places will prefer -1, some a -6. We're going to go with a -3. So I have a favorite created already that does both of those things, right? So it does the speech volume leveler, and then it actually ran another favorite, which is the normalized to -3 decibels. Again, that's just going to stretch things out. I stopped the recording and I named it AAA audio or AAA soundbite. I have both of these on here. So then, I'm going to select all, favorites, AAA audio, stretches everything out, and
he works
immediately,
alongside his father
as we look at my levels now, I'm peaking out
11-bar ranch.
at that -3.
Ted Kimsey
I'm hitting
was a
mostly in the
professional
yellow. I'm
barrel
not
man.
staying in red.
Sage's
I'm not staying in red. It's where I want it to be now. So all I have to do to change that is hit save, Command S on the Mac. I switch back over and now look at it. We've had that change happen in Premiere. And this is now the file.
works alongside his father.
Those levelers are where I want them to be. Here I have a soundbite with Sage, if it'll play.
That was my first.
So we're going to do the same thing here. I'm going to right click, edit clip in Adobe Audition. I'm just going to kick it over there, and now I've got this piece. So I'm going to look at this.
Commercial heifers. That was my first. That was my first purchase.
So I've got a few things going on here. So first of all, we're going to do that AAA, right? Bring it up a bit.
That was my first. That was my first purchase.
So it's louder. That's nice. I can also look through if there's anything I want to do. If I want to reduce some sound, unfortunately, what we have is some radio playing in the background. So that's not nice. But I'm going to try a denoise and just play with
cattle,
it.
for myself. I also bought another 11 head of 3 and 4 year old.
We're taking
red
some of that
cows
truck noise out here, right? So I like that one. I've played with it a little bit. I'm going to apply it. Again, I'm not trying to teach you Audition from scratch here, but just know that all the tools that were available, as we talked about it earlier, all the stuff you have yet to learn, and it's a deep, deep program for recovering audio, for improving sound. They're there. In this case, I've applied a couple things I like. I hit save. I switch back over to Premiere, and now
That was my first purchase of any cattle.
Sage's levels are better. He sounds clearer, more awesome, and we have a much better piece.
Red cows that they're all calving out right now, actually, and that's.
He works alongside.
So Not a clean edit in my part. This is a rough piece. You see the pieces there. I do have another thing I need to look at doing here, which is to say that Sage is only showing up on one channel. If I right click and I say audio channels here, I can actually switch over. I have this nice little grid. I think I actually want both of these on right in this case. And I can now, I've made him a stereo clip. You notice he's playing
Of any
on
channel,
left
you know,
and
for
right
myself.
channel now. Last thing you want to do is send out a piece where you hear the narrator's voice on both sides and the speaker only on the left or the right channel of the speaker. So you definitely want to make sure you get to that point. That shortcut is the quickest, cheapest way to do that. Right click again. We come down to audio channels. And in there we can assign, essentially we're doing a grid between what is recorded on the media is the left and the right, and what shows up in each place. So clip 1 on our timeline is going to show left channel is the right from the media, and right channel is the right from the media. So if it was the channel 1 that we recorded on our camera, I could put them both right here and then apply on both. It comes up as a standard where left shows up left, right shows up right. If you didn't record a left channel as we didn't, then you need to let them both hear right. That makes a stereo out of your mono recording. So that's the long and short of that piece. The next thing we need to talk about is when we're going to export multiple pieces. So as an example, this is not a great example with Sage, but we'll show you how to get there anyhow. Sometimes you want to do multiple things all at once. Just as we did when we talked about how we were going to queue up and do proxy files, we can use another piece of software that's attached to this, which is called Adobe Media Encoder. That's going to go ahead and process a bunch of things. So if you've done 5 or 6 pieces on cooking turkey at Thanksgiving, because you're working for the Turkey Council now, you've edited those pieces, they're all set ready together. What are you going to do with them? Instead of exporting one, coming back, doing the next one, you can let them all run overnight, all run at the same time. In this case, I'm just going to take our piece here, and just like I was normally going to export it, on my keyboard, that's a Command M, but you can go up to File, Export Media. So I'm going to do all the same things I would do right here, except instead of hitting Export, I'm going to hit Q. Additionally, if I have a series of things, if I have a number of sequences together in my timeline, so here I have 4 of these things, I can right-click and say Export Media. And at that point, it's going to bring up an altered version. I'm not going to see all these, but it's going to ask me those same things. H.264, match source. It's going to ask the base things without the individual file preview. And I'll say Q. When I Q, it's going to bring up Media Encoder. It takes a second to launch, so bear with me. So here Media Encoder is up and it's pulling in each of our pieces. You see it's opening project, opening project, opening project. All right, we have all our pieces opened up now. Everything says ready. We can go through on any individual piece and change those top level kind of things, right? So change what our file format's going to be. This, if we were to click and open up on this guy, does this look familiar? Right? This is the same window we were using previously. So we've loaded pieces here, and we could very easily, right now, we were happy with everything, hit play, and it's going to export. But a couple of important things to note. Let's say we want to do multiple versions of the file. Let's say we're providing something for a conference, and they want, we want to put 4K up on YouTube. They also want a smaller version that they can show the conference as just high definition. So we're going to select on bug, and we're going to say add output. The plus here is to add another video source, so you could add more to your timeline even though you've already created. In this case, you could just do add an output, and now we're going to change this one from, we could change it to something else from H.264. In this case, I wanted to go ahead and change this one to be an SD quality. Why not? So I've got another piece. If I come through and I click on our destination, I can select a new destination for things to go to, change them all over. When I'm done, I'm going to hit play. It's going to preview things as it goes, and it's all going to run through one thing right here. Know that you don't have to launch this from Premiere. You can pull a piece in separately. If there's, let's say I want to go to movies here. What have we got? So I want to do this VO piece here, just audio. I can pull it in. I can set what I want that to be. In this case, I brought in a wave, so let's do an MP3. I could do a convert to that. I've still got some preset options here. The quality of the MP3 I'm going to create. I can run that through. I also, once I've preloaded, I can shut Premiere down. I can go back to Premiere and work on other things if I've got a fairly fast computer that's handling it well. Once things are moved here, they're fine. Save them, quit Premiere, leave it running in the background, doesn't matter. This will run on its own. You let this run overnight, you've come out with a lot of nice files. So, last thing I want to tell you about Lab 8, noticed a little typo, of course, right in here, show your work to Mr. Moore for credit. Just a reminder, we're not doing credit on the labs, but these are great practice for what you will be doing for your final. So, that's it. That's what I've got for you. You may have some questions. I know there are some pieces in this lab that we didn't cover today. In particular, some of the collapsing tracks. I think that's fairly straightforward. Please just work through that. If you have questions, let me know. Know that if there's a file issue, if you've got a place where you can't find a certain file, it's not there. I am hoping that all of your scopes are working correctly. Again, I apologize that I'm not able to diagnose and show you today what's going on with my computer, why it's wrong, but to show you how to work those on our own. I think the tools I'm going to provide for you are more than adequate to get you a baseline of what you need to know. Just two things on color, just to reiterate, do work with it. Don't let it be without doing any change. That's one of the most simple professional things you can do. Make sure it looks good, okay? And second of all, do that again. Work from the bottom top in that Lumetri panel. You want to start with your black and white levels, then go to your shadows and your highlights, and then come up. If you have to mess with it with exposure, don't do that too much. Hopefully you don't have a need, but let's start at the bottom, work our way back, and hopefully we've shot it so well that we don't have to do a ton of work on color, just a little bit of, I don't want to use the word sweetening because that gets a lot of people mad in the industry. It understates the quality of what this work is, but that's essentially what we're trying to do. Take what we hope is already a really good shot and just make it that much better. So, thank you all. Hope you've enjoyed Lab 8. This counts as our lesson for this week too. We're not going to do an additional lecture. What we've talked about with color and then the additional videos I'm supplying to you should be more than sufficient to get you where we need to be there. And we'll be moving on. Good luck, as always. Let me know if you have any questions, trouble, and we'll go from there. Bye.